minutes. Okay, welcome to the Q&A with the Home Ergonomist. Anything can go here when you sign up for the Home Ergonomist Q&A session. So this is a no holds barred type activity, something that I just started to do last month. I felt like there was a lot of questions that I was getting from my clients and out on the World Wide Web. So I thought, you know what, I'd love to put it out there for folks. I've been doing a lot of home office remote ergonomic evaluations and a lot of training with employers. And people have a lot of concerns about setting up their home office. So the way this works is you should be able to see my my screen here.
I'm working.
And I want you to turn on your video so that everyone can interact and see each other, because we need this social interaction. And it's much better when I can see you, especially if I'm going to call your name and ask your question for you. Mute your microphone unless it's turned. It's your turn to speak. Raise your hand or wave a pen in your screen if you want to say something or you want to contribute. It's not all about what I have to say, it's about what you have to say for sure. And any feedback, there's a lot of ergonomists here, there's consumers, there's employers that are going to be coming on the line. So I'd like everyone to have an opportunity to contribute, or if you have a thought or a question. So stay seated or stand intermittently, whatever you prefer, or do a jig intermittently. We have 60 minutes together. Try not to do other tasks while the class is ongoing, so that you can stay focused on the discussion and what we want to share with each other. Come prepared and to participate, and leave when you feel like you've had enough. That's the most important thing. You can come and go as you please, okay? So thanks so much for signing in. Let's see, we've got folks from all over the world. I see Shruti. Where are you, Shruti, from India? If you have a video and you can turn it on, it's great to have you here. And Stephanie from Office Relief. Where are you, Stephanie? There you are. I see your name, but no face. I'd love to see your faces, so turn on the videos. And then Brenda, you're all the way up in Washington. I hope your air is cleaner today and things are going better. Great, yes. Those firefighters have been working hard. Our air here is cleaner too. And Debbie, where's Debbie Kabutu? Deb, you want to say hello? Say hi. Deb's all the way in the beautiful islands of Hawaii. And Kim, hi Kim, how are you? Nice to see you from San Jose. And Kim Tash from Long Beach. Good to see you again, Kim. Bob in LA. Nia, you're in Windsor, Ontario. Great, that's fantastic. Alethea, you don't have your video, but you're right from Salinas, California. I know where you are. So, well, thanks so much. And keep putting in the chat where you're from. So before we get going, I want you to take a quick survey. And let me launch. It has 3 questions, so we can just base, what the audience and where everybody's from, and where we're at, where we're working, and what our concerns are. So I am going to go ahead and launch the poll here real quick. So I've got 3 questions. So tell me, can you all see the poll? Yeah. Nod your heads or turn on your mics. Okay. So what room in your home is your office, or where are you spending the most time working right now? Are you at the kitchen table, the dining room table, private office, bedroom, basement, elsewhere? So go ahead and answer that question. Okay. Hey, Janelle, nice to see you. Thanks for signing in. Okay, we got some more people coming in. Let's see. I see Justin from the Bay Area. So go ahead and answer these questions while I'm going through the list. Let's see. Is your workstation set up optimal and comfortable? So you can answer, 1 star for my workstation sucks, 2 for it needs improvement and you hate your chair, 3, it's adequate, 4, it's good, but you can't stand, so you take lots of breaks, and 5, it's awesome. Kathy, hey Kathy from Riverside. Where's Kathy Espinosa? I thought you had your video on there for a little bit. There you are. Hey, how's it going? And then the last one is, are you experiencing any discomfort currently in any body part during or after computer use? So looks like we do see folks having some concerns with discomfort. Thanks for joining us, Tanya from Calistoga, and Keith, yep, all the way from Bremerton, Washington. Nice. Thanks for signing in, Keith. Good to see you. So let me go ahead. Most of you have completed this. Let's see, we've got about 70 to 80% completed. So I'll leave it on for about another 6 seconds. We've got a good group here today, 26 folks who have some questions, and I'll hopefully bring you the answers. And Susanna, signing in from Napa, you're right next to Tanya in Calistoga. So it's going to be hot up there today.
I have no idea where I am.
You don't know where you are. So let me share the results with you now. So let's see. Oh, 14% of you working at the dining room table, 29% in the private office. That is the #1 workplace right now. Some of you are in your bedroom. Hopefully you're at a desk and not sitting on your bed. The basement, a couple of you are in the basement. Wow. Okay, and elsewhere, 20%. So that's very helpful to know. So we're all spread out around our homes to perform our duties. Let's see, we've got, most people feel their workstation is adequate but not great. And half of you feel like you've got a really nice workstation. So I'm glad to hear that. And then as far as discomfort goes, it's across the board. We've got people with neck discomfort, upper back, mid back, lower back, shoulders, elbows, forearms, wrists and hands, and fingers. So it looks like most of you, half of you don't have discomfort, which is great to hear. Look what I got on this morning. I woke up with like an acute ulnar extensor tendonitis, not sure whether it's from paddle boarding or keyboarding or what else, but it's pretty sore. So I've splinted and iced and so forth. So, all right, I'll stop sharing those results so you can see most of us working from home, not ideal conditions, and half of us have discomfort, including myself right now. So let's go ahead, and the way this works is after the survey now, what I wanted to do was kind of start here with a baseline, So from the questions that I saw, I want everybody to kind of have the same starting point and perspective that I look at when I'm evaluating people and teaching office ergonomics or home office ergonomics. So I put up here this my 5-step methodology, and this is your baseline. So whether you work at home or in the office, your baseline is always looking at establishing neutral posture. So step 1, and just for those of you who aren't familiar with the term neutral posture, basically head in line with shoulders, shoulders over your hips, hips in line with your knees and on the floor, or hips slightly higher than your knees, back well supported, head in line with shoulders, arms relaxed at your side. Okay, so this is your near reach zone here, arms reach zone, okay, and then overreaching. So when we establish neutral posture, it always starts with the chair. If your chair's not right, your posture will never be right and your ergonomics will never be good. Okay, that's foundational. So you have to make sure that from the bottom up, it's all working. And so when I say bottom up, I mean starting with your feet. So your feet on the floor or a footrest, depending on the height of your surface, but ideally feet on the floor. Footrests can be used intermittently for postural support. But from this concept, I want you to keep your feet on the floor, and then you want your hips level with your knees, like I said, your back well supported on the chair, your ear in line with your shoulders. So your head is nicely balanced over your body. Okay. So step 2, any questions about that? Okay. From there, once you establish that neutral sitting posture and everything is aligned nicely and the weight is well distributed between the buttocks and the thighs and the backrest, you must engage in the backrest. There's so many people that work forward of the backrest, and that has a lot to do with intention of what you're looking at, as well as the size and shape of your chair and whether it actually fits you or not. So a good fitting chair, you don't even notice. You sit down and it's comfortable for you. The one that doesn't fit quite right, you will notice over time. Okay. So Elbow height then, moving up. So once you establish neutral, your keyboard and mouse should be at elbow height. And so it has to be at or slightly below your fingertips. The wrists are in line with the forearm and neutral. And you want to make sure that the mouse is next to the keyboard on a keyboard tray or on the desktop. And if necessary, if some of you are using a tray, you might leave it level or at a negative tilt. So in this diagram, you can see that it is showing a keyboard placement, keyboard tray, but at home, most of us don't have keyboard trays. How many of you have a keyboard tray? Go ahead and type in the chat and let me know if you have a keyboard tray at home. Okay, most of you don't. Most of you are probably working on the work surface, right? Yeah. Okay, so that means that your desk height should be equal to your seated elbow height, ideally. If you want the keyboard and mouse to be at or slightly below your seated elbow height. Now, that's usually not the case. Most desks are 29 to 30 inches high, right? So let's go to step 3, which is the desk height. It should be, when you're doing desk reading or writing, you might put it for desk work 1 to 2 inches higher than your seated elbow height. And that's simply because of downward viewing and reaching forward to do a writing task. So you may sit up a little higher to do desk work, but you sit back to do keyboarding work. Okay, now it's possible to change that if you have a forward tilt of your seat pan, but most people working from home probably have just a single surface, a single functioning ergonomic chair at home. And that probably has height and it maybe has recline. So once we establish step 3 with our desk height being at or slightly below our elbow height for keyboarding and mouse use, or slightly above for desk work like reading and writing, then we go to step 4, which is monitor height. Okay, now your monitor should be aligned so it's across from your first line of type or directly in front of you. And we have a question from Kim that I'll answer in a few minutes around that placement of monitor and vision and so forth. We got some good questions around that. And then the last step, so before I finish that, the monitor should be across arm's length or visual comfort. So if you have really good eyesight and you have big monitors, they don't have to be so close. They could be much further away. Keep in mind that your eyes converge to a center point, and so you can keep those your monitor at a fairly far distance and down lower if it's large. You don't want it to be too close because it will affect your head and neck posture. And you certainly don't want it, you don't want to be looking up and you don't want to be looking down to it. Okay, the last step is making sure that everything else is within easy reach. So documents in line between the monitor and keyboard, your telephone and your essential functions within your near reach. So if you're using your keyboard and mouse, should be right in line with your fingertips. And if you are like reaching for a phone, should be within shoulder to fingertip grasp or hand grasp. So when you're seated at your desk, you have 2 zones, your near reach zone where your mouse and your keyboard might be, and then your arm's reach zone, which is where maybe a binder or a writing tablet or your phone might be. And the whole point is that you can still stay aligned with stay seated and supported when you are reaching for things. So you don't have to necessarily lean forward to get things all the time, okay? So I wanted to start there with our foundation. And then let's go on to some questions, okay? So I'm going to just do an open forum first. Who has a question they would like to ask? Kim, do you have your question? You know what question you were going to ask before?
Yeah, it was regarding monitor height. So as you mentioned, like the top line on the screen should be eye level or slightly below. But I still have questions on exactly like how your head should be positioned when you're looking at the monitor. Should you set the monitor when you have like proper position?
Okay, let's go over monitor placement. Now I have lots of questions on that. So here's your question, Kim. Are y'all seeing the screen? Okay. What is proper monitor height? And expand on the idea that the top of line of print, which I call the first, where the cursor begins, should be at eye level or below. Okay, so it's a great question, and it has to do with a lot of these, neck positioning, stiff neck, and so forth, which we'll go over some of these questions in a few minutes. So what is proper monitor height, and expand on the idea that the top of line of print should be at eye level or below. So has any of you heard of the line of Feist, or the ear-eye line? You guys heard of that? Yeah. If you've been in ergonomics for a while, you've been to a lot of trainings, you should be familiar with that. So the whole premise of monitor placement is based on the ear-eye line. So I've drawn it here. And so when you measure someone's preferred viewing distance, viewing height for their monitor, you would measure, first understand where the ear-eye line is, which is really essentially where your eyeglasses lie, okay? And then from there, you measure from floor to seated eye height. Now this creates the horizontal line of sight. So you want the monitor to be at or below the horizontal line of sight, where the visual field is. So in this example, the horizontal line of sight is right across here. Let's see if I can annotate a little bit. Draw. Okay. So right across here, that's a terrible color. Can't see that. Let's try it. Here's the coloring. Okay, there we go. So this would be the horizontal line of sight right there. And the visual field is below it, about 15 to 30 degrees. Now, let's change that up a little bit. Let's say, and then the document within 60 or so, 45 to 60 degrees. The goal is to be able to keep your head in line with your shoulders, so when you look across, you can see the entire visual field in front of you. This is where it becomes challenging, because to the left and right, if you have multiple screens, 2 or 3, then you can see the visual field directly in front of you, but you're going to have to either look with your eyes or turn your head to see the second monitor. So from a perspective of visual targeting, it should be from your nose, 15 degrees to the left or right, no more than 30 degrees beyond that. So I'm looking at dual screens, and I have my primary screen directly in front of me. When I look at you guys, you see I get about 15 degree head rotation. This would be 30, and that would be about 45, okay? So now my visual targets are changing, and that's causing neck rotation. Now for the downward viewing portion, obviously, this is one of the things you want to think about. If people are dropping their head versus tucking the chin to look down. So try that. If you need to look down, you can just tuck your chin to look down at your documents. You don't have to drop your head, okay? So a lot of people who are using a laptop, let's say this is the laptop, it might be further away or may not be because they have to reach the keyboard. So your head is always going to be downward, and that's what happens. You get like, your head is like a bowling ball, weighs like 13 pounds. And so it creates a lot of leverage to your spine, and then that can get tight and stiff. And so that goes back to another question we had. Let me stop the, turn that off. Okay. Does that answer your question, Kim?
Yes, yes, thank you so much.
Now, one other thing to add for those of us with older eyes, or we need bifocals. When you need a bifocal, it just, regardless of the horizontal line of sight, it's where your eyes are going to be looking, where you can see what you're looking at. So you're looking through the lower part of the lens on your glasses. So that's going to lower your visual target here. And so you want the screen much lower. So the first line of type, regardless of the horizontal line of sight, the first line of type must be lower, because that is where your visual target begins when you look down through the lower part of your lens. Okay. All right, excellent, excellent. Now let's answer a question on, let's see here. Oh, I gotta erase that, you guys, sorry about that. Okay, now I just wanted to say a couple of things. If you stay on till the end, I'm gonna preview the purchase guide, the buyer's guide that I mentioned. If you showed up today, you get an opportunity to have the first view of the second edition, and I'll send that out to you within the next couple days, okay? Let's erase that one too. All right. So many people ask, what are the best fixes for laptop usage? What is best practice for laptop at home? So really, this is fundamental also. Ideally, if you're using the laptop at home, you want to have a separate keyboard and mouse. And I know those of you in the ergonomics consulting world, you've been telling this to your customers over and over. And it's nice to have that independent monitor. So this would be an ideal setup for the most part. And if you were going to look at your laptop, you would want it to be at the same visual height, excuse me, so that the same virtual visual target as your monitor. Now, there was so this is really ideal. Separate keyboard, mouse on the surface with the desktop monitor. Okay. So let's go to another question around that. How to set up a workstation with a laptop without an external keyboard and mouse. So what do you guys think about that? Anybody want to chime in on that one? That's from Shruti. How do you set up a keyboard and mouse? How do you set up the laptop without external keyboard and mouse? Well, then how can you get it right? You know, how can you achieve that neutral posture?
You won't.
Possible? Yeah, you won't, right. You're gonna sacrifice either your wrist, hands, and forearms, elbows, shoulders, because you're gonna be working up higher. And I just evaluated someone, a teacher, who was working from home with her students, and she only had her laptop. So where did she put her laptop? She felt the visual target was more important so her students could see her straight on like we're looking at each other. And so she had her laptop up 4 or 5 inches. So for 4 months, like that, right? So it's really not a good practice to use just the laptop for extended period of time. Would you guys agree with me? What is the point? Why were laptops created? What was the point of the laptop? Why? Why did we go from the desktop to the laptop?
Portability, mobile workforce.
Exactly. Like on a plane, you could get a little work done, work at a coffee shop, and that expectation was a much lower duration than how we have revolutionized our work life with laptops and notebooks. So that portability now has become stuckability. Right? So, yep, thank you, Brenda, for answering that. And short time on task, right, Kathy? I agree. So now so it's not intended to be used just on its own day in and day out, 8 to 10 hours a day. So we had a question from Brenda. What do I recommend for mobile laptop stands with keyboard tray for wireless keyboard and mouse? So there's a couple different kinds, and you'll see them in the guide when I send it out. There's the triangular type, which has a triangulated base, and it puts the laptop visual field, the monitor part, up a little higher. Those are very nice, portable, easy to use. Then there's the type that are adjustable, like Ergotron has a nice adjustable laptop stand. So you may look for a different terminology: laptop riser, laptop stand. There's probably, those are the 2 main ones that you might see. Brenda, is there a certain scenario that you're looking to use the laptop with the keyboard tray?
Yeah, we're just trying to provide options for our faculty and staff. And so I found one that I like that has actually a dual level. It has a tray down below, and it has to be at a price point that is acceptable. And that was hard to do with 2 levels, to have a keyboard level and then also the excursion, have plenty of excursion for tall and short people.
Yeah.
So I did find one that hit most of my checkpoints, but I was curious of other options.
Yeah, let me show you a couple.
That'd be great.
Let me pull up, oops, I just had it open here for a second. close that. Oh, sorry, I should have opened for you. We have a preferred product guide. This is different than the buyer's guide. Let's see if I can get it to open here. Here we go. Thanks for your patience, you guys. This is live and unscripted. Open. Read only. We'll just say read only. Okay, here we go. Let me share again with you. Now, if you come to my courses, my COESP course, these are included in our course offerings. So can you all see the Excel spreadsheet? Yeah, can you see it? Okay, let's see where we are here. Top and headsets for supports. Here we go, laptop stands and tabletop holders. Okay, so here we go. Here's several different kinds. So the Ergotron Neo laptop stand. This one is, I think, around 50 to 60 bucks. This Gold Touch notebook stand, probably like $29. This one, oops, this is also relatively inexpensive. Okay, we've got the next stand, laptop stand. Maybe you've seen this as like a kangaroo or something, I think it's called, or I don't remember exactly, but this is a very lightweight and portable one. This is very inexpensive. Okay, let's see, I've got a couple chats going here. Okay. Oh, my screen's moved to the left. You can only see half of the PowerPoint. Let's see. Let's stop the share and let's do it again. Okay. So it is all the way over here. Can you all see that? Can you see the products now? All right. And then you have these Rain Design. They're inexpensive and they are very portable and lightweight. So here's the Roost. I know it's called some animal that it made me think of. It's a rooster, not a kangaroo. Okay, so the Roost is very lightweight, portable. Does that give you some ideas?
Yes, and also just, so I was looking for a mobile cart, which is what I found, but these are also good options. And I do have one at home that's a little clunky to adjust. Are these pretty easily adjustable?
Yeah, this one is height adjustable. This is angle adjustable. These are probably fixed angle. I don't think these are adjustable in angle and height, and neither are these this type, the Rain Design. These are fixed height. So the Roost. So depending on what you're looking for.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, let's do another share here and get some more questions in. Okay, I had a good question here about work practice habits and behaviors from Lois. Is Lois here? Chime in if you're here in Bawana. So they asked, what's the appropriate amount of screen time sitting before our employees should take a break? So this is a big question because, as you know, sitting, as is the new smoking, was coined by Dr. Levin. That's almost 10 years ago now. But in the average, we're sitting 7 to 15 hours a day now, unless you have a sit to stand option and you are working pretty much at your laptop or desktop all day. So, so keep in mind, low risk indicates sitting less than 4 hours a day. Medium is 4 to 8 hours a day, and high risk is more than 8 to 11. So these are just some guidelines that, hi Lois, thanks for chiming into your question. Very high risk, more than 11 hours per day, okay? So if you wanna learn more about this criteria, they have this website. I'll put it in the chat for you. It's called sittingtimejuststand.org.
None of our distributors have a niche in the cutting tool segment, whereas the rest would be.
Can you mute yourself? I'm not sure who that is.
Relating to what we just
Not sure who that is talking. Background. And then we also have a resource for you, our Sit to Stand guide, which is a compilation of experts that I had the privilege of listening to talk about this from Australia and all over the country, USA, globally. And they provided some advice. And so I put together some guidelines around that. And as a general rule of thumb, alternating between sitting and standing every 30 minutes for optimum health is probably a really good best practice. But there was a really good book I read from Joan Vernon, I think it's Joan Trentham. She's a NASA scientist, and she looked at scientists who, she looked at astronauts who, the impact of no gravity. And she, just the impact of gravity alone on us. So she suggested that we stand up one time every 15 minutes for about 15 seconds and just weight our bodies, get the physiology to start. There's a lot of physiological change just by the fact of sitting, going to standing. So your body will react and boost its blood flow and more oxygen just by changing from sit to stand. So if you do that 4 times an hour, just like I just did, that's 32 times a day over a pretty much 8-hour period. When you think about how much people really get up during the day, you probably get up once in the morning to go to the restroom. You get up maybe to eat something. Then you get up in the afternoon to take another potty break. And then at the end of the day. So you maybe 4 to 6 times you're getting up, where she's suggesting 4 times an hour, every 15 minutes, just for about 30 seconds or so, just to weight the body and get the blood flow to go and stimulate muscle activity. Okay, because whether you're standing or sitting, it's still static postures, and you need that physiological burst. Okay, so I hope that was a great question from both of you. Okay, now let's look at some sit and stand guidelines. Sit and stand questions. So is Kim here? Let's see, Kim, I don't have your last name. Kim, not Kim Granada Clark. So, but somebody, Kim asked, her question was a little bit vague. Adjustable desktop for split level desk recommendations. Okay, so I think she means, the use of a desk on desk solution. And so when it comes to putting a desk on top of a desk for split level desk recommendations, I think that's what she's meaning. You have to keep in mind the fundamentals of once you put something on the desktop. So if we put a desktop desk on desk converter here, you want to make sure that the keyboard and mouse are at or slightly below your seated elbow height. So when you put these devices onto your desktop, and let's take a look at them. Let's see here, sit to stand desk solutions. So can you all see the Excel spreadsheet again? No? Okay, let me share. Okay, once you put these type of systems onto your surface, onto your desk, then it elevates the keyboard and mouse about 1 inch to 1.5 inches or 2 inches taller than the actual desk height. And I think a lot of people, especially consumers, forget that, oh, I want to do this. I want this standing station at home, and so you order it, you take it out, you put it on your desk, and now all of a sudden your 30-inch desktop or your Surface is now 31.5 or 32, plus the height of your keyboard, which is usually about 1 inch. So now your seated work surface is 33 inches high. And really your elbow height is maybe 26 or 27. And so you're going to be compensating. You'll never be comfortable in sitting. You're going to sit forward just like I am right now. You'll be sitting forward like this. You have to raise your chair up as high as it'll go and get a footrest. And for realistically, you'll probably wind up standing maybe 40 minutes to 2 hours total a day if you use it routinely. And I will say no more than 40 minutes of standing at one time, because your knees are going to get stiff, your back's going to bother you, blood flow to your lower ankles and so forth, your feet can go numb. So standing is not the end all, right? It's all about that routine change. But keep in mind when you buy a desk on desk solution that you should have it go below the surface height. Let's see if I have one in here. Here, the WorkFit TX This one, you see it here? The Ergotron WorkFit TX. This is probably one of the better purchases you can make, but let me tell you how much that is. It's around $550 without tax. And how much is a sit-stand desk? Just about the same in today's marketplace. So you can get, so if you have room in your home to buy a sit-to-stand desk, forget about these desk-on-desk converters and just get yourself a nice sit-to-stand workstation, 30 inches deep by 48, 30 by 60, 24 by 60. Deeper is a little better if you're using dual monitors. Okay, so let's go back to some of our questions. Any thoughts or comments? Okay, let's see, Keith, you typically tell your employees no more than 30 minutes of standing at any time. So if you look at my research on my link that I sent you, the researchers were, I think 30 is good, but no more than 40. I think people need to know the outer limits because people wind up standing. Like I just saw a doctor yesterday and I asked her how long she's standing. She's like 3 hours. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's crazy. That, because you get lost in thought and you forget about it, but her posture was terrible, even just 15 minutes of observing her and standing. So, okay, Kim, you said Goldtop's coming out with a sit-to-stand workstation where the keyboard tray goes below the work surface. You saw it at the conference a couple years ago, but have not researched it. Okay, well, we'll look forward to seeing it when it comes out. Stephen, you said at the company which you work, you recommend against so-called add-on desks and not recommending any. Well, Stephen, you are the ultimate student of ergonomics, and I know you have the best intentions in mind for your organization. Okay. Oh, and Stephen posted something. The desk converter injury waiting to happen. Very good. All right, now I'd like to answer some questions about sitting. I don't know if, let me share this to make sure I'm sharing my slides again. Okay, all right, so Corrine, I don't know if Corrine is here. She said she was gonna be here today, but maybe she could have made it. She asked, how do I raise my chair to have proper 90-degree elbow and still be able to have the armrest fit under the table? So this is a great question, and it's not easy to achieve. So you have to think about it by the baseline that I started with. So you want to be able to sit in this type of posture. So if you raise your chair up to meet your desk, let's assume the desk is higher because she needs to raise her chair, but the armrests, she can't use them anymore. So the problem is the armrests. The armrests are either too long in width, and so when she goes to approximate the desk, they interfere with her getting in close enough, so she winds up sitting forward at her workstation, or they're too, even at their lowest setting, they don't go low enough to go under. So when you have and I suspect when you have an Asian import chair that you purchased with armrests, they're going to be very long in length, probably 11 or 12 inch long, almost as long as your forearm. And they will only have an excursion of maybe an inch to an inch and a half. Or they start up very high and they only lower to still a high length. So they might go from, for example, 8 inches to 10 inches or 9 inches to 11 inches. They may just not fit appropriately. And this is what I suspect is happening. So Corrine, maybe you remove your armrests, as much as I hate to say that, but when they don't fit and they get in the way and you can't use them effectively, then you can remove them. Now, the other side of the coin is that you use them. If they do fit, you set them correctly and you bring your keyboard and mouse to the very front edge of your desk. So it could be that you've got your keyboard and mouse too far away, and so you're trying to reach that, when in reality, you want to stay in your chair. Use the support of your armrest to float your wrist and hands and have opportunity to have access right near reach keyboard and mouse access. So this is the desirable posture with armrest use, and I am an armrest advocate. So you would be able to move your hands freely, floating, no wrist compression. So that's ideally what you want to achieve, and I hope that if you do have to raise your chair up, make sure you use a footrest. And if you need to remove your armrest, go ahead and do that. And if you want to get another chair, let me know that as well. Okay. Now, Selena, and let's see, I really enjoyed this. Jonella, you got to go. Okay. Jonella, we'll see you on Monday. Talk to you soon. Thanks for showing up. Okay. Selena, what are your thoughts on forward tilting postures? And do you have chair recommendations for it? This is a great question. And it's all based on these ergonomic postures. I'm going to make this picture a lot bigger for you guys. Have you seen this? These are the four postures recommended through the human factors engineering of computer workstations. So we should all be in these postures through the course of our day, ideally. And our chair will help us achieve 3 of them if we have a good ergonomic chair. Not every chair has a forward sloping seat pan or forward tilt. But you'll notice when you sit forward in your seat, you are actually going into this forward tilt posture. You're tilting, your hips are higher than your knees, and you're tilting your pelvis a little bit forward. So it is a desirable posture, both for visual targeting when you're doing desk reading and writing, or when you're writing on a desk. Okay. If you're short-statured, the forward tilt of the seat can help elevate the hips higher than the knees, and therefore it brings your trunk up higher, and therefore your elbows are higher, and your feet will still reach the floor. So for petite individuals, a chair that has forward seat tilt, or what we call decline sitting, it's highly recommendable. Now, if you're 6'2" and you have a chair that's sloped like that, you're gonna hate it. Or if you weigh over 250 pounds and you have a lot of girth up top here, you're not gonna like it either. So really, forward tilt is not inclusive in many chairs these days. Matter of fact, the higher end chairs like Steelcase, Hayworth, they don't all include them anymore. But if you have a chair, a midline chair, for example, with a Northfield mechanism, that's the mechanism that's under the chair that has the seat height, the paddle for the back angle, the paddle for the front tilt, the left side for seat depth. That is called Northfield mechanism. Many chairs that are budget, I won't say budget, but more moderately priced, like in the Office Masterlines, the RFMs, the VIA chairs, Sitmatic chairs, they all use a version of that mechanism. And that mechanism will allow you to go into forward tilt. Now, from a practical standpoint and understand cognitive ability to manipulate the chair into forward tilt, it can be very challenging because sometimes you have 2 levers you have to activate to get it there. And this has been commonplace for over 30 years since I've been an ergonomist, that people really struggle with the forward tilt mechanism. So it takes some training and patience. Now, a good chair in the marketplace, a good vendor or product line manufacturer is Herman Miller. Herman Miller still includes forward tilt mechanism or decline sitting into the Aeron chair, the Mira chair, Mira 2 chair. So I do appreciate that. And I think that it works very well when you have Aeron chairs for women who are petite to use the forward tilt mechanism. Okay, the other recommended postures are neutral, we already discussed, and of course reclining. So periodically unloading when you're chatting, when you're talking, when you're looking on the video. All right, so that was an excellent question. Let me shrink that back down. And so I hope that answered, what are your thoughts on forward tilting postures, and do you have chair recommendations for it? Okay. So Stefan, when is a cheap chair a bad investment? This was a great question, Stephen. What is the price threshold? So you phrased it differently, but what I got out of it was you were asking that, when is a cheap chair or a good investment? So let's talk about Asian imports, because when most of us, let's face it, at working from home, we are going to go to Office Depot or Staples or some other big box store to see those chairs there. And so they are import chairs. They are not going to fit correctly, many of us. So you've got to buy wisely. The more you know about the science of sitting, the better you'll be at selecting the chair that you need. So these chairs run between $99 and $299, maybe $369. Once you get through over 300, you might as well look at some of those mid-price chairs that I mentioned just a few minutes ago. So it's a bad investment when think about it this way, the materials that they're constructed with allow it to be cheaper. So the fabric or leatherette that's used or vinyl, the foam that's used, it's all cheap product, and it's going to fail within a few years of prolonged sitting. So if you're doing a lot of high duration sitting, the first month of the chair might be fine, but over time that cushion is going to fail. The foam is going to collapse and you're going to feel like you're sitting on the bottom of the chair. Okay, the next part, the cylinder. Most of these Asian imports have a 3-inch cylinder. They usually go from 13 to 16 inches or 15 to 18 inches, and it won't meet your needs. Let's just talk about construction. They're very poorly balanced. So the base the base, which is the wheelbase and the cylinder, and then the chair sits on top of it. If it's not secured and mounted correctly, these can break away. And if you go in Consumer Reports and you look up chair failure or Consumer Reports, ergonomic chair failure or recalls, you'll see that chairs break and people fall off of them and get hurt badly. So the price threshold for a better Asian import is probably $300.
Oh.
$50 to $300.
So I guess my original thing kind of cut to the chase is how low can you go before you say no in
Yeah,
terms
that's
of the
excellent.
price?
That's excellent.
So it's like, you know, you're not going to get something that is realistic for say $150. Sorry.
Not for long-term home office use. Most of us had these chairs, these lower budget chairs at home, you know, to sit down and pay some bills, to write a note, to go through paperwork at home. But now we find ourselves sitting all day in those chairs. And, you know, they just are not going to work in the long term. So make sure, and then the other thing is size of those products. You know, they look all cushy. The executive style looks like it's going to be really comfortable, but the reality is it's not. And they have fixed height armrests, and those are usually too high and too wide for people. So, but you know, the science of sitting and purchasing a chair is very challenging. So I think you want to make sure that you, you know, are very mindful about buying that and getting as much information in advance. And I have a lot of resources on my website. Let's see, let me go ahead and plunk something in the chat for you guys. So I wrote a guide to home and office chair selection and use. And so I'll put that in there. And if you are interested. So Robin, you said, does Human Scale make good chairs? Well, I'm not going to criticize their chairs, but I don't find it to be one of the most popular ones that I recommend over the last 25 years. No, it does the armrest, the way it's nice thought to bring them up and down synchronously, but they are a little bit wide. Backrest, the foam and gel that they use is actually holds up pretty well, but the shape of the seat pan is a little more of like a wide V shape, and I think it changes sacral support. So that's about all I'll say about that. Okay, and overpriced. Yep, thanks, Keith. All right, let me see. I got a couple good ones here, and then I want to get to my guide. I'll do about 5 more minutes of questions. Welcome, Karen. Thanks for signing in. Karen's all the way from Boston. Good to see you. So Swati, I don't know if Swati's still here.
I'm here.
Oh, good to see you, Swati. This was a great question. With children on Zoom, do you recommend a sit-to-stand desk, and if so, which one? So it depends on the standing height of how tall the child is, right? Is it a young adult, teen? The teen could use it. Remember that sit-stand workstations, when you purchase them, you want to look at the height range, and that height range should be consistent with seated elbow height and standing elbow height when you measure it. So, for example, the recommendation is probably 22.8 to about 47 inches. It's relatively a 25-inch excursion. So this will probably fit, you know, a 4'11" to a 6'5", 6'2" person, that range. So for kindergartners, first, second graders, anyone under that height, I found that these are some adjustable height desk solutions for children that they could use at home. They are manually adjusted with like a pin that you pull out and a pin adjustment. So if you go on to Amazon, I looked at Vecchi children's adjustable multi-function bedroom. So I'll pop that into the chat for you. Okay, let's see. I put that one in there, and let's put this one in there. Okay, excellent. So that was a great question. Any thoughts about that, you guys? Anybody have kids at home? And how are your kids managing, you know, working with their laptops all day at school, 6 hours or so with laptop use for Zoom? I mean, that's the other thing, is that kids need that change of height. They need that mobility. They're so restless. How can they stay seated all 6 hours? We wouldn't expect that of ourselves, and so we cannot expect that of our children. And the younger they are, the more restless they are. So they need to have that flexibility where they can sit funny, where they can sit or stand, where they can sit on their legs if they want, just for a little bit, you know, but keeping in mind good postural habits for them, whether sitting or standing. Let's see. Okay, I'll put that in there. All right, let's see. We got a couple other questions here. Okay. Let's go to Brenda. What do I recommend for mobile? I think I already answered that. Mohammed asked about setting illumination. Oh, Karen, we just did your question. Hey, Karen, we just did your question. We just answered your question for you. I'll have to give that to you later. Thanks for coming. Okay, so I had here, Mohammed asked about setting illumination, and I think he's talking about monitor screens. And you know, monitors are complex in the sense of how to get that brightness and contrast at just the right level. And just a simple formula that I've used all to help people is lower brightness and higher contrast. So if you kind of want to mess around with your screens, you push that the button there, and they all work a little differently. If you're using multiple screens from different manufacturers, your brightness and contrast is going to be different for each screen, each manufacturer. Try to get them as close as possible. They are all rated like a relative value, a scale, you know, lower, less than 50, higher, between 80 and 90. So I usually put the contrast up between 80 and 90 and the brightness below 50. But it's really visual comfort, how you feel about what you're looking at, the level of light around you, the glare from windows, etc., reflective light. So it's not really a straight forward answer, other than keep in mind lower brightness, higher contrast. Okay. All right, so let's see. We had some miscellaneous questions, and then I'm going to preview the guide. Thanks for coming, Kareen. We did answer your question just a few minutes ago. So, and I really can't remember if I put on the video or not, you guys. So I typically don't record them. It's just, you know, live. And but I will have these answers for your questions that I will try to send these out to you. Okay, so we had some other miscellaneous questions. What are easy to implement ergonomics in the home that are not costly? Or Kim, you asked a question about what do you do if you don't have a stipend? So I have this quick fix guide that helps people to on a budget, and I'll put that in here. Of, you know, you're only limited by your own imagination and what your home environment offers you. Once you know the principles of ergonomics, then it's, you know, you can apply those to achieve using household items to achieve what you want to achieve as far as on a budget. So take a look at some of those strategies to help you out. Bob asks, is work from home the future of work? What do you guys think? Do you think it's the future of work? Definitely in the immediate future, at least, right? The next 12 months or so, till we can get this COVID situation underhand. But I also imagine a hybrid workplace. So people split scheduling, and, you know, depending on what if you work in a, you know, a 60-story high-rise building that's only accessible by an elevator, and people aren't masking, and COVID is still in our communities. You're not going to want to go to the office. So a lot of employers are preparing for this hybrid workplace. Those that have the option, you know, in office environments, service environments. Some don't have a choice. Manufacturing, shipping, delivery, healthcare, lab sciences, they have to show up, you know. So it's definitely whatever books were written about the 21st century workplace, they will need to be rewritten, just to be honest with you, you know. So great question. And then Suba asked, is a roller bar mouse recommended for some? And is recommended, and I think for some people. So if you don't know what a roller bar mouse is, these are two different kinds. The roller mouse red Ultimate Ergonomic Mouse and the Roller Mouse Pro. Those of us who've been in ergonomics for a long time recognize these. These help to reduce right arm reaching and allows to centralize the pointing device and use left or right hand or both of them simultaneously. Okay. So Keith, you mentioned in the chat we're looking at up to 35% of our office workforce permanently working from home. Wow. And then Kim, you're not seeing your links in the chat. You should. Make sure you guys, I did make it easy for you to save the chat. So you can all save the chat when we're done. I'm not sure why you're not seeing the links. Kim, is anybody else not seeing them? Anybody else having trouble with that? Okay, everyone's seeing them. Okay. Okay, so Anne, you said you're willing to give up commute for a home office and endure a few more discomforts working with less than ideal workdays. Right, think about, I mean, there are some pros to this. The traffic is so much better in the Bay Area. Those of you who live in this area, you can at least go out now and it'll take you the real time to get to where you need to go as opposed to the extra hour and a half to get to just one direction. There are no links in the chat. That's so strange. Okay, you guys, well, I will send a follow-up to everyone who attended. I will save the chat and I'll reattach it into the email follow-up along with your remote guide. So there's a couple other questions I want to do, and then we'll look at my book. Frank asked, I don't know if Frank's still on the line here. If you are, Frank, thanks for your question about evaluation skills. What is the biggest obstacle an evaluator faces with home office ergonomics? How many of you are doing remote evaluations right now? Just raise your hand. Yeah. So what is the obstacles that you feel like you have come upon?
Getting good pictures from people.
Yep. Okay, good. Now, do you send them any instructions in advance?
Oh yes, yeah. We've got a whole in-web suite of home office ergonomics and just ergonomics in general that they can reference and get an idea of what kind of pictures they're supposed to do. Okay.
But still, it's tough to do that. Now, you can also swipe them off of your video. Are you doing any video, remote video? I'm sure you're using video technology, so you could probably grab the images from your videos. So think about it, doing it like that, using a snip, the snip tool, or a screen capture, something like that. And then also, let's see, I think that the technology sometimes not as reliable. People they're not familiar with the technology Zoom, so getting online, logging correctly, turning on the audio, turning on the video. Also not having a good video camera that they can reposition. You know, like at least with this, I can show and demonstrate and change the angle for the for the person I'm evaluating. But they may be working off of their cell phone, you know, so that could be a problem. Human error. We ask the people we're evaluating to measure themselves. So a lot of times people don't have a tape measure. They have a flimsy little, you know, one of those round ones that sewing tape measure or something. They don't necessarily have a good tape measure like this. So, that could be a problem as well. So your measurements may not be as accurate. And also the preparedness, you know, so we set up our evaluation a week in advance and we ask them to send us photos, do an online survey, sign off on permission to video and photograph. And it's like, it's coming to the day before and none of that is submitted yet. You want the eval to go well. So that's another challenge, is to nurture that relationship, make sure they're on board with what they need to do. Okay. So yeah, I don't know why you guys aren't seeing the links. Some of you may, some of you aren't, so don't worry about it. We'll get that to you shortly after, okay? And then Nurab, how do you complete a virtual eval? The best thing is to learn how to do it. You need to be, I believe you should be a certified ergonomics professional to do remote evaluation successfully. We have a certified remote ergonomics specialist course that we are offering. It's online, pre-recorded, includes coaching and mentoring with me. And but you should be certified to do it because it's advanced. Definitely, you need to have the skills. Okay, so with that said, I want to preview the new book, The Buyer's Guide to Home and Office Ergonomics Furniture and Accessories. I hope you've enjoyed the Q&A today. I wish I could see all of you. Thank you for tuning in, but I've got two things to show you. First, before I preview the guide, I want to tell you about my upcoming presentation, Home Office Seating Assessment, Selection, and Fit. I'll be doing that for Cal Ergonomics, Thursday, October 8th at 11 a.m. And so my newsletter next week will have an invite for that, and I hope you will all come to that. We're going to actually talk about some of the questions that we answered here, but I'm going to give a lot more depth on how to, we'll compare some products. We'll talk a little bit more in detail how to select and fit, especially for yourself. You know, that's what I want to do. I want people to be able to do that. So it should be a lot of fun and interactive, and it's about a 60-minute presentation. Okay, so let's take a look now at the preview of the guide, and you are going to be able to, here it is. Okay, let me share my screen with you. All right, so I've put this together because of so many wonderful questions people have, my clients and so forth. So in 2004, this was the original guide, Your Guide to Office Ergonomic Furniture and Accessories. I wrote in 2004, and I've been wanting to rewrite it. And so, you know, with COVID, you find yourself having maybe a little bit more time, or just for me, my creative juices have really been going for the last 6 months. So I've created and wrote the second edition. I changed the name a little bit, A Buyer's Guide to Home and Office Ergonomic Furniture and Accessories. It's what to buy, how to choose chairs, desks, and accessories. Okay, so this is so cool. This is on Flipsnack, turns the pages for you. So the contents, a little bit about the home office workstation, chair selection, keyboards, pointing devices, monitor and laptop accessories, desk accessories, sit-to-stand solutions, measuring for fit, and 5 steps to seated comfort. That's the foundation of the book. And I asked the question, are you living an ergonomic lifestyle, right? That's why we're all here. We want to be living it. It's a well lifestyle. It's about health, wellness, satisfaction in what we do, taking care of each other, taking care of our families, and trying to live the best balanced life that we can in the face of adversity and hardships. So the book goes into it's very easy to read. It's very short and concise. I kind of tried to, I didn't put a lot of references in here, just so you know. It's really an experiential book of just from 30 years of experience and studying and teaching ergonomics. So chair selection, some special considerations, keyboard selections, pointing device, what you want to look for, monitor and laptop accessories to choose from. So I've got a couple different styles in here, which was one of the questions earlier. Desk accessories to think about, sit-to-stand solutions for you, how to measure for fit, and I've got the six important measurements people should be able to take for just the right fit for home office measuring, 5 steps to seated comfort, which went through the basics of what I talked about, the baseline early when we started, and then some resources for you, including some product suggestions and some vendors. And then if you need more help, how to reach out, and a little bit about myself. So that is the guide. What do you think of that? About that? You think that would be helpful for you and the people that you work with and interact with? Excellent. So right now, this is really the early version, the draft, so to speak, but it's good enough to put out right now. But I am working with vendors to put advertisements in, so images of their product, which will have direct links. So it'll be a PDF download that you'll be able to link to those product vendors who decide to put their products into this guide. I think it'll make it a really robust document and a great resource for years to come, as long as things continue to stay the way they are. So, all right, so with that said, let me go ahead and stop this share. And let's see, okay. So here we go. All right. So until the next time, it's 12:07. Thank you so much for staying online. Employers out there, consultants, ergonomists, PTs, anybody, you need more support. You've got some questions that I didn't address today. We had great questions. Over 45 of you signed up today. About more than half of you came today, which I really appreciate your time. There's so much that we could be doing. I really appreciate you spending it with me. If I did record it, then I'm going to probably put it together for a blog post or something. But sometimes I forget to turn that on. I turn it off and then I forget to turn it back on before we start. So it's great to see everybody. Thank you so much for coming, and look forward to hearing from you. Keep reading the newsletter and the blog, and hopefully I'll see you on October 8th for the home office seating assessment, selection, and fit. Okay, bye-bye for now. Thank you.